Hey Raz, how's it going? What's you printing? What's in the printer? Anything good or client stuff? Ah, I gotcha. Hey, what's up, Devastator? No, I haven't seen it. What is it, what's it doing? Yeah, I figured 3D printing was gonna move fast. When you say, what is it? Get the glasses down. Volumetric? What is that? I mean, they can 3D print food already, not like... It doesn't look pretty, but I know they can 3D print food, so... So it doesn't need supports anymore? Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't eat the 3D printed food, but God only knows what they put in the food now. Well, at least the no more supports will save money on wasted supports, you know. But yeah, pretty soon 3D printing is gonna go crazy. Hey, what's up, Henry? How you been? Henry, I forgot. What was the project that I met up with you and gave you? I completely draw a blank, and I haven't gone on my YouTube channel because I was talking with somebody this week, and I forgot the project I did for you. Was it Hulk? I'm just... It's been like a crazy summer. Oh yeah, the Batman. Okay. Yeah, because I was talking with somebody, and for some odd reason I thought it was a Hulk for you. I guess a Hulk. I'm thinking of something else. Oh no, I drew a blank. I forgot. They were just asking me about a Hulk thing, and I was trying to tell them I recently did one, but I guess it was I got mixed up. Because I remember doing the modding on your base, but for some odd reason I thought it was Hulk. Getting old. Yeah, that's probably why I got mixed up. I remember you mentioning Hulk, but for some odd reason, I thought I did the Hulk for you. Because somebody was asking me Hulk, and they also wanted to know how I paint a Hulk. I guess I'm thinking of the one I did a long time ago. Yeah, we all gotta save our money. It's getting rough out there. If the guy Jerry comes in chat, I'll show his item off, but I was working on his item, and his base is a lot of work on his base. So I thought I bought an extra thing of Aves for his project, but I guess I opened it up. So I was working on Aves, I was working on his item Monday through Thursday. Every day non-stop. My arm is killing me. And this was like a brand new container of Aves, and it's pretty much gone. So that's how much work I did on this base. So, like I said, if he pops in chat, I'll show it. If not, we'll have to wait. I'm not seeing people cutting back as much. Well, I mean, I know people are cutting back, but I think people are getting smarter of what they want, at least like hobby sense. I think the impulse buying is slowing down, and I think more people are focused on specific, you know, characters and like grails. At least on my end, I just think people are starting to just kind of, like, you know, like 2020 to 21, like when everyone was home, people just started spending like crazy, and I think that's kind of stopped. Hey, Scott. So I think it's just people are just being very careful. At least even me and my friends, like even stuff I want. I started this back in 2020, but I'm focusing on just like Grail stuff. I'm not just buying random shit anymore. I went to Terrificon, and I just went for specific old school comics to fill up my run. But if they weren't in mint condition, I didn't buy them. So I didn't end up buying anything really. I did get my Jerry Ordway commission, but I'll show that when I get it back in the mail. That was kind of like a Christmas gift to myself. Alright, I'm gonna start working on her jeans. That's all I got time for today. Long day at the doctor's. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so. Well, I also think fast food has gotten very expensive too. Like, isn't there like some parts in the States that like McDonald's is almost like $20 a Happy Meal now? I just think everything is expensive. You know what it is everything was supposed to go down after the lockdowns, but everybody kept their prices up. So, I don't know. Well, I bought some, I went down to the farmer's market after I dropped my father off when we were done with the hearing doctor. And I stopped by and I grabbed a couple tomatoes and a watermelon. And tomatoes were friggin' like $10 for 3. Now, don't get me wrong, they're about like this big. But stuff skyrocketed. Well, jean shorts, not that hard, depending on, like, what style you want to do. I mean, I got some, tearing of this up, but it's a matter of just trying to follow the, you know, because this piece sort of, this piece comes down, you know, like underneath there, and then you have that little, spot that comes up type thing. I'm looking at some artwork now, but I mean, a lot of her stuff is rolled up, but we're gonna give her a little bit more of a thong type look. Alright, so now we'll kind of start tearing it up some. That would be my friend's statue he had sent here. And he's going to bitch at me in a couple minutes asking if I got it. And what I'm going to do is throw it in the trash can and take a picture of it and let him know I got it. Let me get it off the porch. Be right back. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of it in the trash can. I'll do it after the stream. I'm sure he's gonna start spamming me soon. Did you get it? Did you get it? He has everything shipped here because I work from home. But he's just a pain in the ass. One time he shipped an item to me and I threw it in the dishwasher and I took a picture. I said, your item's here. I said, I'm gonna clean it for you. It's probably because I started later, or maybe just people are out. I had just a long week working on that item. Just, I'd wake up, I go get coffee, I come back, and I just start working on this item. And then before I knew it, it was lunchtime. I'd eat lunch, and then I start working on the item. And before I knew it, it was 8 o'clock. I even forgot to go to bike rides this past week. I didn't do anything. I just was working. Like I said, I'll show it to you guys if Jerry hops in chat. If not, then you'll have to wait. We're also probably coming up to the end of summer, so I'm sure a lot of people are trying to use their Friday nights to enjoy the weather a little bit longer. Also, Jacob disappeared on me. I'm hoping he's okay. I still have his Supergirl statue. The last we talked, he said he was in the hospital, so I'm hoping he's alright. I told him last time I talked to him, I said just take care of yourself and we'll square away the Supergirl whenever. I haven't heard from him. Kind of concerned a bit. I know I don't want to get too personal with what he said, but it looked like he was heading back home. And I'm hoping he didn't have a relapse or anything. A lot of people lately I know have ended up in the hospital or they've gotten sick. So I guess it's sort of that time of the year. Like, I don't mind holding items if people end up in a hospital or they're sick. I'm actually just hoping that there's nothing serious, that's all. But I did go to Terrificon last weekend, and while it was fun, I feel that there was way more actors and pop culture there than comics. So I'm getting a little concerned that the show might start turning into New York Comic Con. Because where they had all the artists, they had all the actors there, and I think there was more actors this year, and then they were all crammed together. So I'm getting a little concerned about that show. There was a lot of comic vendors, but it felt like more like there was more, just more junk, I guess you could say. The first 2 years were great because it was just like going there, it was just comic bin after comic bin, but this year felt like they had all this like pop culture stuff and like people selling knickknacks. And while I understand the show needs to sell out and make money, I also feel that it's not going to be worth the drive out there if I have to kind of go through all that crap like New York Comic Con's become. So hopefully it changes. I don't know if any of you guys went to it. Gotta find a picture back of jeans. Didn't put it in here. Where is So the pockets are so if we put a piece here, I'll have to add the line down here in the back pockets another time. This age is starting to get a little too thick. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's not a super thong, but it's got a nice tightness to it and sort of torn up. I think if I went too thong-ish, it would look too cheesy. But at least it's kind of torn and tight, which is good. Of course, once we paint it up, it'll come together. I think that fits the theme, you know? Hey, what's up, Terrell? Don't they have a... Didn't they just do a Lois now? Oh wait, no, that was Lois on the desk, but it was like topless, I think? I don't know, I can't keep up. The oh yeah, the bottles are small. But honestly, I think everything is small now. Everything is what, 2 milliliters? But if you think about it though, I mean, if you're good with your paints, you really don't burn through them that fast. At least I don't. So I mean, one bottle lasts me a while. But so when I say a while, I mean like, so if I'm painting up the skin tone, you know, I think the Pro acrylic paints are fine. But if you're gonna start painting up like reds and blues and greens, I wouldn't spend the money on those specific bottles, you know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna burn through them so fast, because usually like red, yellow, and blue is like bigger areas. So I try to get like, you know, the golden soft body stuff or the Liquitex soft body stuff and sort of like extend and get more out of your color. Like that's what I'm trying to say, is you get more out of your color when you do specific things. So the skin tone stuff I always expect to get in smaller bottles because it's really good colors. But for reds, yellows, blues, greens, you know, I try to buy the bigger bottles and mix it in with other colors. Yeah, like I would never, like for example, I'll show you. So, let's grab these two bottles. Let's grab this bottle, and then let's grab, you know, something like this. No, actually, you know, so this, and good example of color. But this is good for like anybody who's in a hobby. If you guys want to like, you know, save on paints. So if you're gonna do skin tone, you know, a bottle like this is fine. You know, because these are good colors, and you know, sometimes you only see this much skin on a statue versus like the whole item might be skin. But then when you start getting into like browns and yellows and you know, darker stuff, getting a bottle like this of Liquitex soft body, this bottle will go a lot further because you can thin this down with like say this color a little bit. So say this skin tone has a little bit of a yellow orchid to the color, you can take raw sienna and mix it with this and you can extend your color, you know. And then if you get into like blues, you know, you don't always have to buy a small bottle. You could get like the bigger bottle of a blue, you get like a bigger one. And then for like white, the Wicked color is white, a big bottle like this is good versus just buying a little bottle like that, you know. So that's why I always test my colors, and then I always try to extend the color that I need. I mean, I might buy some colors like these for specific projects, but like these things are fine for a lot of the other stuff. And then that's why I always buy like for example, you know, I buy my empty bottles with little marbles, and then you know, I might buy a small bottle of yellow and throw that in there, but then I might put a little yellow orchid, a couple drops of white, and then, you know, you make a bigger color, you know. Yeah, it's just that I think sometimes, I mean, it all depends on the product and what you're doing and how much money you want to spend. For me, you know, I buy the good colors of the small bottles for specific stuff, but when you're just doing like, if you're going to do like a huge red cape, you don't need to buy a little bottle like this of acrylic. You could buy a big bottle of this of red, you know. So that's for anybody in the hobby. Don't be afraid to buy these bottles, but you don't need like your primary colors in these bottles. You know, it's just a waste of color when you get something like this for the same amount of money, you know. This might be what, like $4 or $5, and I think this is like $4 or $5. So, and then don't forget this is a thicker paint, so if you mix this with water, you're almost getting about that much more of a bottle. So. And if you guys really want to extend your colors, you know, you could buy a huge bottle of white, and you could buy basics too, you know, and thin these down with, you know, like Terrell says, a medium or a water or something, and you know, you could get a lot more color for your buck. Just don't buy the cheap paints though. Like, I wouldn't go to like Michael's and buy those no-name brand paints. I think those are absolutely trash. But if you buy Liquid-Tech soft bodies or basics, you can, you know, they're way better. They may spend what, like $3 more or something, but it's worth it. Like I always said, I think you get what you pay for in paint. I really do. I just think that you know, you don't have to spend the crazy highest premium kind of acrylic ever. But I wouldn't drop down and buy like the dollar bottles at, like, you know, Michael's. And the other thing too, I've learned over the years, I'm pretty sure you do it too, Terrell. You know, like if you're painting up an item, you don't have to pour the whole bottle of paint into your cup, because sometimes, you know, a couple drops go far, you know, a long way. I used to make that mistake back in the day when I first started. I'd take the whole bottle and pour it in there, and I'd spray an area, and then I have like that much paint in the cup. That was kind of like a thing I used to do in the beginning that I realized I'm just wasting color. Yeah, when I first started back in the day and I was renting the apartment with my brother, I wasted so much paint. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I keep pouring all this damn paint in there, and I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I started getting to just putting in just enough, and you start actually, the more you paint, the more you realize on how much paint will spread in an area before it starts spurting out. So but yeah, I think everything is 2 milliliters. I don't see anything in airbrush paints except for like Createx that's larger. Like the good brand of stuff. Not like Createx or other brands. That's how they get you. But yeah, I don't know. Have you tried them yet? Do you like them? Or did you buy like colors? Did you buy just the skin tones? Like, I only bought the skin tones, and I didn't buy like colors of them because I was like, I don't need to burn that kind of money. I got plenty of reds and yellows and stuff, so I was like, screw it. Just the skin tones is good enough. Were you here last stream when that other person recommended those other paints? I have them saved in my Amazon. I just haven't purchased any yet. Yeah, alright, I got it saved. I was reading up on them, and I got a set saved in my Amazon. So if I ever get a little extra cash, I'll get them. But it was Kaleido Colorworks. It's worth a shot down the line. I just try not to overspend on paints until I get like a little bit better word from people. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I still love the Formula P3 skin tones, and I do like this acryl skin tones now. I'm pretty much kind of like stuck with them. But I think did the acryl come up with some more skin tone colors? I think they did. I'll have to check again. I think one thing that got me jaded about buying paints was I bought a lot of Jesse's Garage kits through the years, and then what happened is they would go bad after a while, you know, and you never even open them. And I used to just like, I got to the point now where I try to only buy it when I need it, because I'm always worried about if this bottle sits there for like a year, it goes bad. And I've had that happen with Tamiya or Tamiya paint, whatever their name is. I've had brand new bottles that never open up, and when I go to open them up, they're like just gel, or they're turned into rubber. That's why I don't really buy those much anymore. That's kind of the one thing that one of the things that bothers me about paints in general is just sometimes they'll just go bad, and I hate that. But so far, Citadel's, Formula P3, and Vallejo's, I haven't had any issues with. They seem to be doing pretty good. I feel even though Citadel paints are very small bottles, I feel their paints go a lot further than what you think they would do through an airbrush, because they're really, really thick. So when you thin them down, one bottle goes pretty far. So yeah, I never really had a problem with the skin tones with Jesse's. The only problem I had was that sometimes over time they turned to like, they just gelled up, especially the transparencies. That's what I had a problem with Jesse's, is all the transparencies would gel up on me, and then the African fleshes would always cake up too. Yeah, Raz, the guy said in the last stream that those paints are like, it's acrylic, but they paint like enamel. So if you get a set, let me know. I'll probably get a set whenever I'm back up on funds. Like whenever I kind of back on track with some funds, maybe I'll pick up a set. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if things are going the way things are going, maybe around Christmas I might buy a set. Because I don't need it right now, so I don't need to jump on the set right away. But I'm thinking maybe Christmas time I will. Actually, while I have you guys here, there is a couple paints I'm curious if you guys used it. I think it's on Spray Gunner. I think it's this chrome paint. I saw their gold and it looked really cool. I wonder if you guys have heard anything about this paint. Let me find the link. Where is it? Where is it? Alright, here we go. It's Chroma Air. And then they have a gold though. The reason why I wanted to know if you guys ever use this stuff is because this gold looks like it might be a decent gold. Have you guys ever used those? Yeah, Michaels doesn't do anything anymore. I rarely go to Michaels anymore for anything. Yeah, I never heard of those paints either, but it popped open in my feed on Instagram, and I saw a guy painting an item, and it looked very interesting, so I'm kind of curious about those paints. So I might pick up a gold and a chrome down the line. Check it out. Maybe Black Friday if they have any sales. Maybe I'll give it a shot. The only reason why I also found about them is I had to pick up some airbrush parts, and I pretty much order from Spray Gunner. So they had actually better prices than Amazon, and better than eBay. So I ordered a couple parts from them. They ship really fast, and not a bad site. Was there any good feedback on them? Like I said, I never heard of them. I just saw a video of somebody painting, and a couple people in the video like comment says that they love that paint. So I was just kind of curious. I have a funny feeling it might just be like AK Interactive type of paint, but you never know. I think if I was more of a painter channel only, and all I did was kind of just like work on paint-ups, I probably would experiment more. But I just don't do enough of that to bother. Or if I was a famous YouTuber where I can get sponsors, you know. I just kind of stick with the project I'm working on in a commission. Yeah, I like Spray Gunner actually, because I ordered off of eBay a while ago, and it turned out it was the Spray Gunner site. They're on eBay, and I got the card in the mail with the package, and I was like, huh. I was like, let me just order from them direct from now on. And that's what I've been doing. And like I said, the prices are good. Even without like a sale, they beat Amazon. So it's not a bad site. Yeah, they had the parts I needed too. I got myself, what did I get? I got a new needle. I like to have at least like 3 needles on my backup bin. So I bent one. So I figured let me get another needle. I got a couple other parts. Just some other little random stuff. There was one part I needed. They didn't have it in stock though. It's alright. I guess they put their business card in their eBay stuff, so they're hoping you don't go through eBay. What did I get though? I got let's see. We got this, we got a needle. I already used some of the parts. I picked up another kit for my quick air disconnect because the one I have now was starting to make noise. I actually forgot I had one in my drawer as a backup. I just grabbed another one. That's one thing I hate is when I start airbrushing, if I hold the hose a weird way, it starts leaking air. So I figured time to change it. I noticed now on the part sites for the Iwatas, they don't name it anymore like fine needle or 2.5 needle. It's just basic needles now for a specific airbrush. I guess they're a lot of stuff is kind of different for these brushes. I did get those airbrush and paintbrush cleaners in the mail. I just haven't tried them out yet. But I'll have to set up a video this weekend if I remember on those. I'm hoping that's a good replacement to clean out my airbrush. turn blue again. Damn it. The hell? Yeah, camera's been messing with me a lot lately. It's like when you get in too close, it turns blue for some reason now. I don't understand why it's doing that lately. That's not bad. If you go on the spray gunner site and you buy some parts, I think some parts have been discontinued though. I have to look into that. Why do you keep turning blue? Something here. Maybe that was the problem. That's what happens. Maybe that was the problem. Oh, stupid camera. What if we go back to... Looks a little bit better, right? No, I think backlight was off. Maybe that's why he was doing that. Doesn't seem to be doing it now. Maybe that's what the problem was. Look, does it look okay in camera now? Like I said, I don't know. Like, the problem is anytime I take this camera and I have to go to this photo studio and take a video, and then I come back, it screws up these options, so... One day I'll get a better camera, but I don't really care for now. Yeah, I think maybe it was the backlight was off. I probably hit a button someday and screwed something up and didn't realize. Turning into a boomer, screwing up all my electronics. Alright, the side's gonna have the pouch. I almost forgot about that. So as the eaves gets harder and stiffer, you can start kind of doing this toward bending. Kind of play with it a little bit more without it like sinking. think that's looking pretty good. That's the booty's kind of hanging out of her, right? Without getting too dirty, at least in the crotch area. I can't mix up any more Aves today because the last Aves I have to finish up a commission tomorrow. I'm sure the Aves will get me it out like next week, but I think that's all I can do for tonight. But I like the way it came out. A little bit of sanding, a little bit cleaning up. And like once we put the pouch over here, this will come together. And we just got to do the lines on the back here, you know, like sort of a little bit of a pocket torn, and then there's those lines of jeans, but we'll get those up. And then I also got to put, I think it's the left pocket or the right pocket, where there's a little pocket there. Then I got to start adding the little buckles and keep going from there. So a little bit more on the jeans. But it looked good. And once we paint up the jeans and you start doing the speckling and the jeans look, it'll come together pretty well. Yeah, I think that works. Especially the back of it. Looks like it's definitely a Savage Land and torn up. Yeah, pretty happy with that. I did sand down Jessie a little bit. Show what's going on with this. So I sanded her shoes down, so it looks a little bit better now. I did it actually after the stream that Saturday. I was in the garage sanding something down, so I figured let me sand these down. So I just pretty much cleaned up the edges, and then I sanded these down, and I kind of cleaned up back here. Hit it with primer. I got to do a little putty work. You know, we got to add the little bit of the zipper thing, and then we can figure out what to do with the buckles on the sides. But it's looking pretty good. I like it now. It's like you got nice boots on, then you got these you know, tight latex leggings, and then it squeezes the skin, so I like it. We just got to add the wrinkles, wrinkles here, a little bit of wrinkles there, and then some back here. No, stream shouldn't have went down. I'm not getting any errors. No,